There's so many rules in 40K, hundreds of events, and constant updates. Skip the learning curve of Warhammer and join the pros. Art of War is led by multiple world champions with decades of success. We teach clinics, stream games, and inspire you to succeed at your favorite hobby. Join our global community of gamers just like you.
Boom, boom, boom! We're back, everyone!
We're back, John. I'm back.
Richard's
I am back.
back.
I'm excited to be back. I had a little bit of a vacation, John, but now it's all 40K all the time, right?
Well earned, but we are right back to the grind. We have our machine. Our resident servant of the Omnissiah is here, and we are excited.
And bless all the streams from now
Absolutely.
on. All those issues that you found that Nick was like, he was like, what can solve these? I'm here.
All right, Richard is here. We're back, everyone. We just got back from a wonderful weekend in New Orleans. Richard just got back as well from his well-earned vacation. We are here for another tier list. It is that time of the week, my favorite time of the week. And we are doing this video on the top 10 named characters in Warhammer 40K.
Top 10.
Top 10.
Now, honestly, John, you don't often see named characters in most lists because at the end of the day, there's a limitation to being a named character. You can't have relics, can't have warlord traits. And in 9th edition, most books have gotten some really good warlord traits and relics. And you don't want to be spamming, 4, 5, 6 different characters because that's a lot of your army in just a single model.
Absolutely. Anytime you've got those linchpin relics, you need someone to carry them. There are some really good characters in the game. There are some armies that just completely ignore them. It's been very hit or miss, across the 8th and 9th edition codexes.
Yep.
So I think this list was very interesting. I had a bit of fun putting this one together. There's definitely going to be some on here that are obvious that people are going to be like, oh yeah, of course, that character's there. There's going to be a couple, though, that you may be surprised were left out. If you have any predictions, by the way, on who you think is going to make the cut, especially who you think is going to get that top spot, feel free to drop them in the chat. I am curious to hear what everyone thinks.
I'm curious as well. Now, before we jump into the list itself, we should talk about some of the criteria we evaluated our choices with.
Absolutely.
So, number one being, very simply, what's on their data sheet? What are their stats on the battlefield? Are they crazy in combat? Do they have amazing weapons? What do they got going on?
Yeah. And then number 2 was like whether or not they're standing on an important rock, right? And like how many skulls are on the base?
How many? Yeah. How tall are they?
Exactly. This is purely by height. So I think the Void Dragon, might be the tallest named character in the game. No. I'm just kidding. So we were also evaluating them on how efficient they are for their price. Yep. So, it's not just how much someone does. Like Goleman does a lot for an army.
Mortarion.
But Mortarion, Magnus as well. They do a ton for their army. But you have to account for their cost as well. So it's kind of how good they are for the points.
Yep. And then finally, the third one was how much do they buff their army? What's their central role as part of an overall army? Do they really significantly bring the faction up? So we have a couple characters in here who are absolutely essential for how their army plays. And that's why they made
That's one way to put it. And that certainly explains their spot there. All right, Richard, are you excited? Are you ready?
You ready for 10?
I'm ready for 10.
Here we go, John.
All right, give it to me.
You have played against him many a times. Probably the only person who's played against him more than 3 times.
Yeah, I keep fighting this guy.
Often with Custodes. And man, the Custodes not like this man. Nightbringer himself. He is a Catan shard with the Necrons, and he's pretty expensive. He is not the most cost-efficient character in the game. He's 370 points. He had gone up earlier this year. But he is a beast. So what does he do? Well, first of all, his combat stats are amazing. He's got a sweep profile, which you don't often see, and then he has a big swing with his scythe. And this profile is double his strength. It's AP4, and then I believe it's obviously D6 damage, but it also ignores invuln saves. And on top of that, his datasheet ability, life siphoning or whatever it's called, ends up ignoring any abilities that prevent you from an enemy unit from preventing them from taking wounds.
So feel no pains, no -1 damage, no half damage.
Those abilities that you can only take 3 wounds, like the Nightbringer himself has. He ignores it, so the Nightbringer actually is one of the best tools against an enemy Nightbringer.
He is the ultimate trump card.
You just have to hit first with your Nightbringer.
Yeah, I mean, well, the Nightbringer could also cut Gaz in half, right?
Could cut Gaz in half.
Ooh, don't want to see it. Right on.
So there aren't too many of those rules in the game, but Feel No Pain is all over the place. And recently, with a lot of armies trying to get Feel No Pains in their list to ignore all the mortals from Grey Knights, and Thousand Suns. Nightbringer just, I don't care. Boom.
Yep, the Nightbringer just answers that. Racks don't care. Grotesques don't care.
Yeah,
I wouldn't really want to be a Thick City Talus in front of that either.
Nope.
The Nightbringer kind of defines the playstyle of the Catan or double Catan builds for Necrons. There are a couple other ones. There's a few Necron characters, that I think deserve some merit or some consideration here. But the Nightbringer kind of stands alone because he defines the playstyle the most of, like, you have to have the out-of-phase damage to deal with him. You have to be able to, spread out, avoid him, hide from him. When the Nightbringer is coming at you, you get out of the way. And that's the biggest thing for me. That's true. Like, I'm not willing to step up to the Nightbringer and try to punch him out because I just may not have enough phases to do so. And boy, is it a problem when you swing and you miss on the Nightbringer.
Absolutely. So he does have that ability where he can only take the 3 wounds. On top of that, he gets 2 Catan powers, one of which is his specific Gaze of Death, in which you roll 3 dice and 4-ups do D3 mortals. So you can do a lot of damage to a particular target, and this is at the end of the movement phase. So abilities that ignore mortals in the psychic phase don't work there. And then on top of that, he can get access to any of the other Catan powers, in particular Sky of Falling Stars, which is a very good. If it was a psychic power, it'd be one of the best in the game because it's 24-inch range, ignores line of sight, and affects up to 3 different units. So very powerful. He's great. So early game, even though he's only an 8-inch moving character, can't advance in charge or anything like that, can still do damage with Sky of Falling Stars. So very powerful there. Obviously can switch into Cosmic Fire to do even more mortals.
All right. Before we move on to that next character, I do actually want to see what the chat has to say. Curious if anyone is agreeing or perhaps disagreeing with our take on, whatever there. With our take there on the Nightbringer.
There's a lot of chatter in here.
A lot of chatter in here. What do we got?
We're seeing Morvenn Vahl number 1, Swarmlord number 1, Drazhar. Somebody said Dante, Logan. Come on now. No.
Whoa.
Jack isn't here. Jack isn't here. Silent King, Ahriman, Bobby G. We haven't seen Bobby G since he got beat down by a 60-point succubus.
Oh, man.
So I don't know if he'll make this list, but he is a powerful character.
I wish Nick and Jack were here. We could argue about like Dante versus Fate Weaver for number 1. Fortunately, Richard and I are going to skip that part of the conversation. I'm going to give a little spoiler before we reveal number 9. It will not be Dante or Fate Weaver. As a matter of fact, this is the last time we're going to mention them in this video.
We got Be'lakor, Helbrecht, Mortarion.
Ooh.
All good choices.
I forgot about Be'lakor.
You forgot about Be'lakor?
I forgot about Be'lakor.
I put him in my honorable mentions, but we'll get to
that. All right, well, we'll get there. All right, well, we're gonna talk about that more later. All right.
So,
ready?
Nightbringer to me is, even though he is overcosted in my opinion, still a character you have to deal with.
Absolutely.
Because as soon as he controls the middle of the table, it's very hard, especially when he's behind blobs of Necron warriors.
Yep.
So I think he's still a powerful character and something to build around.
Fortunately, without Jack or Nick here, we're completely devoid of favoritism here. So the next pick, perfectly unbiased.
Oh, Commander Farsight.
Commander Farsight.
Did you expect it? No, you didn't. And I'll tell you why. Okay, first of all, John, let's talk about his stats, because they're not impressive. They are not impressive. He's got 4 attacks. He's swinging in at strength 8. He's AP 3, and he's D3 damage. All right? Not a bad profile for a Tau Commander. Hits on 2s. All right. His plasma rifle, garbage. We don't even need to talk about it. But what does he actually do? Well, this is by far the best character Tau have access to, and that's because in 8th edition, Tau as an army relied on, and they still have an 8th edition book, shooting you every turn. And if they don't shoot you, they're not doing anything, pretty much, right? Well, guess what? They lost all the ways to fall back and shoot, which was the fly keyword in 8th edition. The only way for them to do it now is Monka, and Farsight lets you do it twice. He is so essential for Tau being even remotely playable that he needs to make this list.
Yep.
Without him, Tau, the 30% win rate that they have or whatever it is right now, it would be like 15% at best. I'm not even exaggerating.
Or maybe it's 30% because people aren't taking Farsight, and if they did take Farsight, it would go up to, I don't know, maybe like 7-1, like honestly, top 4 to Super Major, right?
If you check out these Meta Mondays, you still see some Tau lists with the Farsight build still going like 4-1 at GTs. Yeah. So it's still possible out there, but Farsight is a massive part of this.
Yeah.
In addition, it's awesome that Tau have a 1 CP strat called Command and Control Node, where you give up a character shooting. Well, guess what? Farsight shooting is terrible. So you give it up freely, and then you get to reroll wounds on a battle suit unit. So he sits next to your Crisis Suits or Riptide, lets him reroll wounds. That's awesome. You could give him a 6-inch Heroic Intervention if you want to do some combat, some trickery in there, basing units, preventing them from doing other things. So he's got some utility there. But overall, he is there because Monka is so essential to the Tau playstyle. He buffs the army immensely, allowing you to fall back and shoot twice per game. Mm-hmm. That is worth making this list, honestly. Yep. I think it makes Tau playable.
Yeah, without that, you get tagged once you pop your Monka. And the other part is, because you don't have a Monka in the bank, you can never pop Kion because you might need Monka later. With Farsight, can you pop Kion once and then still have a Monka in the bank for later?
You can still
so
do
you
that.
Still have that safety net if you really want to use your Kion early.
Yep.
Look at me, I know the names of these things. Mm-hmm. Very proud. Plus, he did, of course, kill Fate Weaver.
He did kill Fate Weaver in combat, as a true champion would. But Farsight, he's also relatively cheap. He's 130 points. Mm-hmm. In addition, he interacts with the Tau Bodyguard rule, which is the old version, where you take a point of for every point of damage Farsight would take, he goes ahead and can pass it to the Crisis unit. So as a while we stand, which you can make him in a Tau list, he's actually quite annoying to deal with. This actually came up when I played at ACO, where a bunch of Dark Angels characters went into Farsight. He made some 4-up invulns. The ones he didn't make passed off to the bodyguards, and he just survived and controlled them back.
Man, Adam Lane is making some jokes in the chat, saying if that Farsight is making it, then old One Eye has to be above him. Adam Lane, why you gotta be so mean to my boy old One Eye? Why you gotta be so mean to him?
Poor old
all right.
All right, so that's Farsight. We're going on to number 8, and this one, he was a dominant force in almost every list that you saw for this faction in 8th edition. You don't see him as much anymore, but man, is he still great.
Can I spoil it by saying that I believe at the last LVO, he was the most common named character taken.
It wasn't even close.
It wasn't even close. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if yet again he was the most commonly taken named character. I really wouldn't be.
Bam.
Ahriman.
It's Ahriman. He is the Arch Sorcerer of Tzeentch. He is one of the best characters in the game still.
Yep.
Amazing Psyker. He gets you a lot of Cabal points now.
He's just value.
He's good in combat. He's fast when he's on the disc.
Honestly, Ahriman is just a basic sorcerer who doesn't cost much more.
Yep.
And he just does it better. And you don't have to put a relic or a Wooled trait on him. He's just a better version of his unit type. So it's like, why would I ever take a Psyker unless I've already taken Ahriman? Like, if you're thinking of taking a Psyker in Thousand Suns or in a Chaos Soup list, you want some mortal wound damage, Ahriman's the best at it. He gets his reroll. He used to get +1 to cast. Now he gets that for pure being Thousand Suns, but he gets reroll cast all the time. So even if you soup him in, very reliable caster. Mm-hmm. Great value, the most killed character in 40k. He just literally cannot survive, except the one time when I played him. And then he did survive against Nick's Jesus Slayer cult. But other than that, he never survives. But no, Ahriman he speaks for himself, right? He has been like Mr. Thousand Suns. Like, I don't even know why Magnus has a model. Like, it's Ahriman. Ahriman Ahriman's in charge here. We all know it. He's just a very good budget character for an army that wants to hinge around having good, reliable psychic characters. He is the best at it.
Yep, and because he's not so much more expensive than the regular ones, you can fit in those extra Rubric Marines and Scarab Occults that you want. And so instead of taking 2 different sorcerers, you just take Ahriman. Save the CP as well, so you don't have to buy relics and world traits.
Yep, 100%. Just value.
Yep, he's value. He's a master of Value Town.
Ooh, Adaptive Subroutines is here to hear about Makari. I want Makari on this list.
Makari could have made
Makari's not bad. He's better than I want to admit. And that doesn't mean he's good, because I will never admit that orcs are good. But he's better than I want to admit.
If Gaz made the list, Makari would make the list.
Oh, 100%, right? They both got to be up there.
They're a pair. Nick, at one point, did not take Makari with Gaz, and he has never won with orcs since.
Yeah, that's once he abandoned Makari and the lucky stick that Makari carries, it's over.
Completely over.
Completely. Like, what are you going to do?
You ready for this, John?
Ready.
All right, we're going into your realm, your favorite.
Getting into the Space Marine section?
Yep, we're doing
it. Getting a little more loyal. Ooh, I just said more loyal. I'm sorry. Sorry, Chad. Azrael. What a guy, right?
Yeah.
Azrael is just he's got everything.
Look at the mini Marine body that he's got.
Let's.
That's a transhuman body right there.
Yep, that guy can only be wounded on 4s. He is possibly smaller than a guardsman. I think he is actually smaller than the Death Corps Kree guardsman now.
I think so.
It is that part's bad. But the rules. We're not ranking the models here. We're ranking the rules. Azrael is just really good. He's just a great buff character. So he's a chapter master. He is on foot, so a little bit slow, but with Dark Angels, that's not a big deal because of the playstyle that they often adopt. He's a Chapter Master at a very good price point. He comes with the Great Warlord trait. If he's your Warlord, he gives +2 command points. So in an army with good stratagems, Dark Angels have good stratagems, he gets immediate value there. Instead of taking like an unnamed Chapter Master where you buy him a relic and a Warlord trait. He's your Warlord, and you get 2 command points for it. He's pretty good in combat. He has a little bit more shooting than a normal named character does. He has a nice combi plasma that doesn't kill him. And the big thing is just the buffs he gives. So in addition to being a Chapter Master, he's a 6-inch or a 4-up invuln against shooting. And that is an amazing defensive buff that you can use to, as a substitute for Storm Shields on Terminators. You can use it to really protect infantry and bikes. It's just the Jawa mini. Yeah, he's got a once a game deny the witch. Azrael is just really good value. He does, of course, with his Warlord trait, bump people back in Doctrines. The early Doctrines are very, very powerful for shooting Marines. You get, obviously, all the the extra AP. Dark Angels usually like to have some guns in the list. They don't have, they get some combat too, but, between Talon Masters and Bikes, Raven Wings, the Green Wing elements, having extra Devastator and Tactical Doctrine for 2 turns each is amazing when you don't have to CP for it, and you get the CP back. Azrael's fantastic. I keep him in just about every Dark Angel list I write, because anytime I put a captain equivalent in, I just look at it and I'm like, man, I can pay like 40 points, drop the relic I gave this guy, and get 2 extra CP. And then I have Azrael. He's just so good.
Yeah. Eat your heart out, Dante. This is what a Chapter
this
Master
is. This is what a Chapter Master looks like. Some of these 9th edition Chapter Masters have got it, and some do not.
Nope.
Logan Grimnar will not be mentioned again in this video. Azrael, though, Azrael's a champ. He is good. He is worth it. All right. I don't think he's the best basement character, though.
Nope. This guy's better.
This guy's better. We are talking about my favorite named character in the game, Ahzek.
Yes.
Ahzek is the hero of the Imperium. Ahzek has the White Scar keyword. He also, at a very reasonable price point, Ahzek comes with a free con, which is cool. We all know that Ahzek is really the hero and the named character and the one who gives the +1 to wound aura. But Khan, Ahzek, look at the beak on that guy. That guy's a savage. Khan! Oh, man. Khan is amazing, right? He's honestly, I think what makes Khan so good is his price point.
Yeah, he's so cheap.
Khan is so cheap. Like, he's like 110 points, which you take like a Primaris captain with like a Mastercrafted Power Sword, which is basically what Khan is. And you just like pay like 20 points and you get a +1 to wound aura. And Khan himself is a very good late game piece.
Oh, yeah.
So he's an aura of +1 to wound in combat on the charge. For, of course, his fellow White Scars. He's on foot, but he's not that slow because you can advance the charge with White Scars. You can double move him. You can put him in an impulsor.
Pluses to that.
Being able to put him in an impulsor is actually very, very important. Obviously.
Definitely.
Because he is Primaris. And he's just so good. I actually kind of want him to be a little bit higher on this list. I think we put him right here as number 6. I actually would make an argument for him as number 5, but I'll admit number 5 is no slouch either. So we'll let it ride for now. He's a pretty beefy boy. He's got a bigger base, so that means he trumps it. So Khan gives an aura of +1 to wound in charging combat, which is massive for White Scars, an army that doesn't really have a lot of wound buffs otherwise, but has damage buffs. So having as many of those connect as possible is absolutely fantastic. In combat, he's great late game because he rerolls all wounds and damage against characters, and he gets his own +1 to wound buff. So late game, turn 3, 4, 5, when the game gets kind of skirmishy, you're down to a war boss, a succubus, and a couple characters each. Khan cleans out other characters. He goes in, he hits on 2s. He's got a bunch of attacks. He rerolls wounds against characters, +1 to wound. He rerolls damage against characters, +1 damage. Jagged Eye is the Storm. This is Kor'sarro Khan, his maybe his grandson, but Kor'sarro Khan is an absolute beast. And also, Ahzek has killed like 3 named characters on our streams. So,
it's been a while.
It's all about the bird. He'll be back. Like, Khan will come back, no doubt about it.
But yeah, for 10 points more than a Necron Overlord, you get Khan.
Yeah,
it's insane.
Not even a question. Khan is a fantastic choice. I think he's an auto take in just about every White Scar list. I wouldn't even think of dropping him, really. All right.
No, I think he's automatic.
Moving on, we do have one more Space Marine on this list.
Yep.
One more, the biggest, the beefiest boy.
The High Marahal himself.
High Marahal Helbrecht. He's so chunky. I saw the model in person. We have him new on Sprue, but we haven't built him yet.
Yep.
I saw him at the New Orleans Open. He's big. He is thick.
It's like Crow versus other Grey Knights.
Yeah.
Helbrecht to other
Helbrecht
Marines.
versus other Marines. Helbrecht is huge. Helbrecht is of course the new model chapter master for the Black Templars. But what a guy, right? Again, he's very, very well priced. He's I think he's like 170, 160, 170.
Yeah, right.
It might be 160. But really, he's a walking Primaris captain, but so much better. He's a chapter master, so of course you do get the price increase of that. But he's an aura of +1 strength, which is great. He is a murder machine in combat.
Oh, yeah. His weapon was massively upgraded.
Yep. What did he go to? He went to like 6. I think he went to 7 attacks at damage 3.
Yep.
Strength of like 8. Or he can do like
Sweeping
14
profile.
attacks with a
That's
sweep
2
attacks
damage.
at 2. It's like Helbrecht is an absolute monster. He will go through squads. He will go through characters.
Big squads, too.
He will go through vehicles. Oh yeah, like this guy could go through a 10-man squad like that.
Yep.
Like late game, again, when you've got characters rumbling around, that's where Spaceman characters shine because they can just go in and kill. And if you don't come in and completely knock them out, they will murder whatever charge them. And he's tough. He's 8 wounds. He's Primaris. You can transhuman him.
Yep.
8 wounds on a chapter master like this. It makes a difference. Like
it really does.
It's so often, those late game scrappiness parts. It's good to have a supporting like captain / chapter master character early, right? He's good. He has a random combi melt that he can blink around. It's the Primaris version, so like his little bolt gun's a little extra range. Like he's good. He's a good support character. +1 strength aura for Black Templars, a very good combat army. Totally makes sense. He's great. Late game, 8 wound character, beat stick, rips people apart. Helbrecht is great.
On top of that, Black Templars are one of the Space Marine factions that really still appreciates the Chief Apothecary. And so if you just wound him, it doesn't matter.
No, he's gonna go back. 100%.
Flat 3 heal, you're gonna feel really bad for not killing Helbrecht.
Yeah. Before we go to the next one, I do want to take a second to acknowledge some of the super chats we have gotten. Thank you so much, King Hef, for the support. We really, really appreciate it. Got a little bit of mention for Eldrad there.
Cast 3 plus Smite, and up to 3 to cast can get the 2 up and the 5 up, Feel No Pain. Eldrad is he's one of the better Craft World characters.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he just doesn't cut the bacon anymore. And that's mostly because Craft Worlds, at the end of the day, you want the speed of the Farseer on bike, generally, to get the powers where you need them to be, and to do some Fire and Fade plays, potentially.
Yeah.
So,
I
lack of speed hurts him, because Wave Serpents just aren't as popular anymore.
Yeah, I think that the big thing letting Eldrad down right now is the supporting cast here, because Eldar Psychers and characters in general are very good at providing support and buffs, casting things like Doom and Guide. And unfortunately, Eldar doesn't have the good data sheets to really justify that. And having the mobility of Farsight on bike is also really important right now. So even in Craft World Otherless, we don't see Eldrad pop up often. Although I believe Brad actually did take him to the US Open Finals the other week.
Oh, yeah.
All right, we also have a $5 super chat from Matto. Matto, thank you so much for your support. You are a rock star. We appreciate you. Richard, I can't quite read that far.
I know he won't make the list, but the Encarn's pretty cool and unique. He'll be back someday. He's kind of in the similar place as the Avatar, but has a lot more better and cooler rules than the Avatar.
More expensive.
But he's quite a bit more expensive. I believe $290, which, yes, you have some utility, but the Ynnari psychic powers aren't very good.
Yep.
And Ynnari as a whole has kind of completely fallen off after they finally got an actual nerf.
Did they?
I mean, they really did. They aren't. It's not like Drukhari, where they're just small love taps.
They did. Ynnari got an actual nerf. The Incarn's great. The Incarn and the Sanguinor are 2 characters that I think about because when they matter, they can define a game with their ability to pop into combat and reappear in different spots. Super unique mechanics. They're really powerful. Neither of them made the list for me because I think that their factions can be played very well without them. They're not faction defining, and there are too many games where that gimmick or that mechanic is not useful. The Sanguinor is terrifying for me. But then sometimes you play against an Admech army that's I'm just going to wait 2 or 3 turns to charge you anyways and just shoot you while I wait. And it's the Sanguinor is just like a jump captain who doesn't give reroll once.
The other thing is there's a lot of combat armies that want to engage multiple places, but they're building in multiple fight lasts.
Always dangerous,
Do not appreciate that.
Yeah, no, they certainly do not. Alrighty.
You ready for this, John?
Ready for this? I'm 100% born ready.
You know him. You love him.
Is that true?
You've run him.
You've
Run him. I have not. I have not yet.
You will. Don't remind me.
He is the Drazhar. He's a Drukhari character, so obviously he benefits from all the amazing Drukhari rules, particularly Advance and Charge. But man, just hits amazingly hard in combat. Is one of these characters, and we're seeing it a lot, especially in the newer ones, where they have two different profiles. They have a harder hitting profile and then a sweep attack, so they can get extra attacks. Drazhar has that. On top of that, he gives out. He's got actually very good defense on his data sheet. He's T4, unlike most of the Eldari stuff. And then he is -1 damage as well.
2-up armor, 4-up invuln.
He is a tank. And six wounds too.
So good.
So he doesn't just fall over. And then on top of that, he gives +1 to wound to nearby incubi units, which doesn't always come up, especially with incubi going up in price. You don't see as many anymore, and usually they're kind of like a cheap trading missile to go finish off a unit. You don't want to send Drazhar.
But it works on himself.
But it works on himself. So it +1 to wound, one of the better rules you can have in this game.
Yep, Drazhar is just a fiend. The fight twice is what we have to mention.
Yep.
So Drazhar fights twice, and he doesn't do it at the end of the phase like an Archon. He has a very good warlord trait, but the fight twice to me is what makes Drazhar so good. It's that he can do it every turn, and because he's tough, you often see him in games where Drazhar goes in with some other supporting units, and Drazhar fights. He immediately fights twice. He does have the ability to make people fight less with Tormentor Mask, although it is somewhat unreliable. But it's just a nice little gimmick to have. It makes him hard to countercharge. You never know. Like if you charge in and you just Drazhar's like, I rolled pretty good on a 2d6. I'm gonna fight twice and murder whatever you just sent at me, and now I'm free to go charge other things. He's super dangerous, and he's a Drukhari character that can go and hit something and has a chance to stick around, and that is incredibly dangerous because you've got like the murder succubus who, for most players, dies after she goes in. Archons are easier to kill than Drazhar, in my opinion. You just drown them in shots, and they'll go away pretty quickly. Drazhar actually has a little bit of staying power, enough to get the fight twice every single turn, where an Archon can only do it once. Super deadly for me. Drazhar's a fiend.
He's also he went up in points.
He's 145.
He's 145.
That's not.
But he's still very good for those points, honestly, because you compare it to some other 140 point characters, and he's still head and shoulders above them.
Yeah, it's the same cost as like a Broodlord.
The only reason he isn't higher on this list is because he is just not needed. For Drukhari.
Because Drukhari can make a bunch of comic characters.
Go get the Murder Succubus, go get the Fight Last or the Fight Twice Archon with rerolls and Jinblade. They have so many murder characters that Drazhar isn't needed, but if you put him in the list, he's going to murder. He is
Absolutely.
that good.
Yeah. He's the best murder character, I think, for Drukhari. But, they're not exactly short on options here, so he's not unique in that aspect. Just the most expensive and also, therefore, the best at his job. He's still great. Still fantastic. All right. We've got one more Xena's Warlord coming up. One more.
You know and love him, John. He just won the New Orleans Frontline.
Isn't he beautiful? Major. Oh, I should have brought him in here just to hold him up. Swarmlord. Talk about like faction defining, right?
Yep. He's as faction defining as Farsight is, but he's buffing better things.
He is more so than Farsight.
Yeah, much more so. That's what I'm saying.
Like one of the best things about the Swarmlord, honestly, is that he's not sub-faction locked. This is a unique aspect of Tyranids, a lore-friendly one, but so he always transitions well into the next meta list, but he is a named character. The Swarmlord is fantastic. He's expensive. He kind of has an 8th edition data sleep that looks like it doesn't hold up, but the rules that the Swarmlord provides compared to what the army gets from it, he is unparalleled, I think, in how much his inclusion changes an army. Like you look at a Farsight Enclaves list with Farsight and a one without him. They are different. It changes things, but it often does the same things. With and without Swarmlord is, honestly, it's two different codexes. So what the Swarmlord does, he's a Hive Tyrant. He's got the same stats. In combat, he gets 3 pinvuln. He's better in combat than an average Hive Tyrant. He costs 240 points. He's good. He's a Psyker. He knows 2 spells. He's Synapse with an 18-inch aura. He's great. That's fine. He's a little overpriced for that. But what he does, Hive Commander. You pick a unit within 6 inches in your shooting phase. That unit gets to move or advance. Cannot be overstated how good that is. Like, it is just insane. It's just insane, right?
Auto include. Straight up
it's,
auto-include.
it's just an auto-include. Like, you take a Gene Stealer unit, they can move 14 inches after you roll a 6 on an advance, and then charge someone pretty fast. Swarmlord's there, 28 inches. Just, whatever the movement was, double it, move on. You can't shoot after that, so he does really help melee units the most, but he helps screens a lot, he helps Gene Stealers a lot, he himself. Anytime the Swarmlord wants to move 18 inches, he can just be like, I'll just get my own buffs and I'll move 18 inches. The Swarmlord is insane value.
And honestly, how you can tell is if Swarmlord right now went up 40 points, John would be finding a way to get those 40 points.
That's true.
Like,
I think
he's overcosted, even more so if he went up 40 points, but he's that necessary.
Yeah, he defines the Tyranid faction. People are like, man, the Swarmlord's so expensive. Like, how much could you get if you dropped him? It doesn't matter. What the Swarmlord does for Tyranids is irreplaceable. It cannot be replicated. You cannot get that kind of speed out of anything else. And the fact that it's auto-pass, this isn't a psychic power you can deny. This isn't something I can fail on. It's not a 2+ that I have to hinge the game on. The Swarmlord picks something, they advance. They move. You do it after your shooting attacks, which means you can shoot holes in screens. You can, like your opponent runs out, they put up their screens. You run Gene Stealers right after the screens. You shoot your Hive Guard, your Gaunts, whatever else you have. You cast your Smites. You poke some holes in those screens. Swarmlord's like, all right, gates are open. Go get them. Gene Stealers move right through the hole, into the lines, into the backfield. All of the tricks and shenanigans that have kept Tyranids viable as a melee army, they all hinge around the Swarmlord.
Yep. No doubt about
That's it. I can't write a list without him. He defines the faction. All right.
Ed is saying in chat that Vanilla fell off his knees somewhere when I said that Draz isn't necessary. Well, I've got the Austin Trophy in my room, so how about that? On the Archon now, Anthony.
Okay, Richard.
I love you, Anthony.
Savage.
All right. Let's go ahead and move over
into another one of my favorites.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed.
You have to imagine they've been coming up because they are also essential to how a faction plays. Guess what? It's Celestine. She's the living saint.
My lady, my love. Celestine.
The greatest abuser of the bodyguard rule in the game.
100%.
John, tell us about
Bar
Celestine.
none. Oh, Saint Celestine. Celestine, she used to be like a weird support piece, and now she is just a value beat stick.
She's just good.
She's just good. So Celestine comes with her two friends, the Gemini Superior. The whole package for the three of them is 200 points on the dot, which is a little pricey for some named characters, but do not worry, she is worth it. Celestine has turned into a kind of combat beat stick, where in combat she has 6 attacks at strength 7, AP 4, damage 2. Every time I roll a 6 to hit, it just becomes 2 mortal wounds, and we skip the rest of the process. Of course, you can stack that with, the Passion, where every 6 to hit is an additional hit. Celestine hits extremely hard. You can use a Miracle Dice for it. She moves 12, she flies, and of course, with Miracle Dice, as we mentioned, she can be very tough to kill. She has her 2 Gemini who absorb hits first. After they die, Celestine herself is -1 damage, so she's a lot harder to put down than she looks. Mm-hmm. And when you have Miracle Dice Manipulation, she can go 24 inches and make the charge. She can connect with something, guarantee the 6 to get 2 mortal wounds, and roll the rest of her attacks to kill it. She is powerful. She is tougher than she should be. She's a unit of 3 characters, which means if any one of the 3 models is within 3 inches of a bodyguard, the entire unit cannot be shot at. Mm-hmm. Again, Richard mentioned she's the big bodyguard abuser. She is. And I love her for it. She when Celestine doesn't want to get shot, her Gemini just kind of trail out to a ruin with some friends inside, and Celestine goes, sits on an objective, and is just like, this is mine. And now, sure, you can go contest it, but I forgot to mention, Celestine can heroic 6 inches, so she is a perfect, objective defender. Her Warlord trait is a 6-inch aura of +1 invulnerable save for all infantry sisters units, which is very good. You actually don't often take it, because you can put that Warlord trait on someone else as well, like a smaller character is more of a support piece, if you really need it. But Celestine as a support character is fantastic, just because she gives you really good objective control that sisters otherwise don't have. They're kind of a squishy army. Yeah. She gives you great melee, great threat range. She's a great skirmisher. I haven't even mentioned the fact that you can res her. When Celestine loses her Gemini, you can perform an action. You can before she even dies. If the Gemini are dead, or if Celestine's wounded, she performs an action. If she does, every wound that has been allocated to the squad, any wounded models are automatically healed. And then you take 1 slain sister superior, 1 Gemini, and put her back in. So let's say I've had this happen. People have made a play on Celestine. They've killed the Gemini. They've gotten Celestine down to 1 or 2 wounds. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to call this turn out. Celestine's going to take a time out for one turn. I'm going to just do an action real quick. Okay, Celestine is back to 6. I put a Gemini down. We are back in business. I'm basically at full strength. If you actually kill Celestine, you get through the Gemini, you get through the Miracle Ice, you kill Celestine, roll a dice. On a 2+ at the end of the phase, Celestine is right back where she is at full wounds. None of this 1 wound, none of this D3, not on 6. A 4+, on a 2+, full health. Stand her back up. Celestine is amazing.
No, I've played against her probably more than anybody in this house.
Yeah.
Just like John's played more against the Nightbringer. Every single time, she's the threat. She is the number one thing that I'm paying attention to every single time. Pre-measuring where she can go, all the things that she can do, and having multiple ways to deal with her if she actually tries to engage me. So she completely defines how you play against sisters.
100%.
So good.
I mean, I don't want to say she completely defines sisters.
She doesn't completely, but
there's
how
at
you
least
play
one
against
more.
the army,
Yeah.
you need to be aware of Celestine.
That's true. All right, number 1, Myanmar. Morvenn Vahl!
Oh, Space Marine chapter masters wish they were this good.
Oh, they do. Morvenn Vahl is the best named character in the game.
It's not even close.
It's really not. Like, Richard and I, we built our list independently. Yes, Celeste Queen, by the way. I'm sorry I was mispronouncing it earlier. My apologies. Richard and I wrote our top 10s independently. We put them together. We were like, oh, yeah, you're right. This person comes in. Maybe this one doesn't quite make it after you get reminded of something else. We both had Morvenn Vahl at number 1. It's not even like...
That she is that good.
Celestine is the second best character in the game and the second best character in her codex. Morvenn Vahl is amazing. Morvenn Vahl is another piece that, it's weird in that I don't think she defines the Sisters faction as much as Celestine does, but for just value on how good she is, Morvenn Vahl is so good.
Does everything in a single
Everything.
And for relatively cheap.
She's 265, so let's not pretend that Morvenn Vahl is a light investment. But what she does, Morvenn Vahl is a captain and lieutenant slapped together. So she's an aura of reroll 1s to hit and wound. She is not order locked. She's not an order. She's not a chapter. She's not martyred lady. She's sanctified, so she buffs everyone. You can put her in any detachment. If you take her, she is the warlord, so you are saddled with her warlord trait. Fortunately, her warlord trait is reroll all hits and wounds in combat, which, you know what? Not so bad. We can do worse there. Morvenn Vahl is fantastic in combat, right? Oh, man.
She's so good.
She's
what's
so
her
good.
profile?
All right. I'm so glad you asked. So Morvenn Vahl is 5 attacks at strength 8, AP 3, damage 3. And if I happen to roll a 6 to wound, extra mortal on top. But she has a sweep attack too. As these new characters do, she can twirl that spear around like a baton, just cut some people up. So she could be instead 10 attacks at, I think, strength 6, AP 2, damage 1. Again, re-rolling all hits and wounds. Once a game, she can fight twice. So she is a load of pain. Like, Morvenn Vahl also, all right, first of all, many people try to kill Morvenn Vahl because she's important. And when they fail, Morvenn Vahl is there to brutally remind them not to mess with her. So many times I've had other beat stick characters, even unnamed ones with all the relics and warlord traits, coming into Morvenn Vahl. She survives. She hammers on them with rerolls to hit and wound. And if they're alive, I'm like, all right, you know what? Let's do it again. Drop the hammer. Morvenn Vahl, she is a masterpiece.
Tell about her defense. It's also amazing.
Of course. How could I forget? She's an 8-wound character, so she does appreciate some bodyguard shenanigans.
Yep.
She is T5. She has a 2-up armor save. She has a 4+ save against mortal wounds. Morvenn wounds. And she halves incoming damage.
You can hardly pick better defensive rolls.
You couldn't write it better. Woo!
Random 4-up against mortals, just wow.
It pays off.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes it's just she's crazy. She's a combat character, I think, on par with Celestine. Celestine's probably a little bit better, but Morvenn Vahl is slower. She doesn't stand up, but she's probably tougher, at least for the first life. And the big thing is that Morvenn Vahl supports the army so well. So we haven't even mentioned all the things she does for the army, right? So she's a Supreme Commander, so you can put her in her own detachment if you want, or you can have her as the Warlord and a patrol to kind of remove the need for characters in the Sisters Army, which is fine because she's like a Canoness and a Palatine all in one. The big thing is that she, like a Chapter Master, has a command phase targeting ability. You pick one Sororitas core or character unit, so it could be yourself, and they reroll all hits, all wounds.
Chapter Master, Captain, Lieutenant, all in one.
Yeah, but better than a Chapter Master.
Better.
But better. Richard, how do you feel about reroll all hits and all wounds?
Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic. Marvelous. Wonderful.
All hits, all wounds.
Couldn't ask for anything better.
Like, how? How did they think of this?
I mean, you know what? Like, in the context of Sisters, I think it's fine. Like, we don't see Sisters as a dominant, overpowered faction right now. But I think that their best bills 100% involve these two named characters.
Yep.
They are straight up money. Just, mwah,
John.
Fantastic.
Guess what?
What's that?
She also has shooting.
Oh, that's right. You know what? If she's a support character in your backfield, you know, playing linebacker, ready to hit people in combat when they come close, you know, it kind of feels like you're not getting enough bang for your buck, right? She's also kind of like a dreadnought, right? You just like, you know, buy one Captain, Lieutenant, Chapter Master / like Trajan Valoris, get one character box not for free, right? That's kind of how Morvenn Vahl works.
Oh, yeah.
She has a Cyclone missile launcher. It's a Paragon missile launcher, but they're the same thing. So she gets 2 crack missile shots at 36-inch range. Of course, if you want to, you know, maybe you're a little bored on turn 1, maybe you give yourself rerolls to hit and wound, right? Let's just put, you know, rerolling hit, wound, missile launchers downfield, do a little bit of damage. Maybe your opponent fails a save or 2. Don't worry, you'll get a Miracle Ice for that. Here's a Miracle Ice. She also has Fidelis, which is a named Heavy Bolter. That's a Heavy Bolter that's strength 6, which, you know what? Higher strength than Heavy Bolter is not bad. On a strength 6 weapon, it's a little unreliable to wound, so don't worry. When she buffs herself, rerolling all those hits, all those wounds, they will connect. Morvenn Vahl averages a Drukhari Raider in shooting. If you have a 6 showing in Miracle Dice, which you pretty often do. Fantastic. She sits in the backfield. She defends it. She goes and kills anyone who gets near. She rumbles with other characters really nice. She's really tough to kill, tough to push on. She can get bodyguarded. She provides amazing buffs for the army. She gives command phase buffs like a god. She has pretty good shooting to go downfield. She's a great Walby stand target because she is darn hard to kill. Morvenn Vahl.
The whole package.
The whole package.
Yeah,
she checks every possible box I would want in a named character. Every single one.
Cost efficiency, battlefield prowess, her buffing the army.
Yep.
She's got it all.
Yeah. Like, she is expensive. But I am willing to
pay. The Palatine and the CP.
Exactly. You know, Nick doesn't like Morvenn Vahl. Nick always comes to me and he's like, you can't tell me that Morvenn Vahl is better than 5 squads of Sisters of Battle. I'm like, 1, she totally is. 2, like, all right, but is she better than a Canoness, a Palatine, and 3 Sisters of Battle squads? Maybe 2 at that point. Yes, she is. Morvenn Vahl is unparalleled. For me, she's number 1.
I agree.
100%. I can't go anywhere else.
All right. Lots of discussion.
Lots of chatter in there. Yeah, fine, I'll do it myself. That's Morvenn Vahl. Morvenn Vahl tells people what to do, and as soon as someone makes it through the line, Morvenn Vahl rolls up her sleeves and is like, you know what? I have a spear. Let's go. Go stab someone in the face.
I think without these 2 characters, Sisters would be in trouble.
100%.
Honestly. But they are keeping that codex towards that 50. They're like hovering around the 50%
Yeah,
window.
I think that they're a little bit above average. If we're going tier list, like I still have Sisters as like an A- kind of army.
Yeah, I still think they're better than most Marine factions.
Agreed. Yeah, and Morvenn Vahl and Celestine though are essential to how that army plays, and like the best archetypes that we've seen come out of that codex. You cannot go awry with them. They're in there.
Let's talk about some honorable mentions, John.
Honorable mentions. There was a couple that we talked about but didn't quite make the cut. I actually feel bad. I did not even consider Be'lakor. I think Be'lakor might have deserved a spot.
I put him in my honorable mentions simply because the units that he's buffing just aren't very good, in my opinion. So
that is what hurts the most.
When Chaos Space Marines and Demons get codexes, I think Be'lakor is going to be absolutely outstanding because he has a very good psychic tree. His stats are amazing, and he's just a brutal beatstick as well.
For sure.
So I think when they actually get datasheet updates to the Demons and the Chaos Space Marines, his particular detachment is going to be very strong. So I think he will shoot up this list when that happens.
Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. He didn't quite make the cut for me. Another one who I think comes with the problem of the data sheets he's buffing is Abaddon. Yeah. Abaddon, with the new Death of the False Emperor buffs, Abaddon's Warlord trait making Death of the False Emperors go on, I believe, 5s instead of 6s, which of course with prescience and other things can become 4s. It's really good. Abaddon is fantastic. He's a little expensive, but he's an old school chapter master where he's an aura of reroll hits for Black Legion. He's not core locked, he's not character locked because he's an older book, which actually makes him better at this job. He's very good in combat. He's -1 damage, I think himself. He might be half damage. He's one of the two.
I think he's half damage.
Half damage, yeah. He's pretty tanky. He's like a T5 or 6 2-up armor. He's got a good invuln. I think he's 8 wounds as well.
I think he's 8 wounds.
Very good in combat again, and that's a great aura for Chaos Space Marines. But it is a melee. It's really a melee only aura from the Warlord trait, Death of the False Emperor, and that wasn't really the problem with Chaos Space Marines before. So I think he didn't make the list because of who he supports. But if you were to tell me that there was a new 9th edition Chaos Space Marine Codex coming out, and they copy and pasted Abaddon's datasheet, point for point, word for word, the Death of the False Emperor mechanic was remaining the same theoretically, into a new 9th edition Codex, I would say Abaddon makes the list right on that.
100%.
Like, he is great.
Yeah.
But is saddled by what he buffs.
I think he's in the same place as Bellicor in
Yep.
that regard. Other things that could have been mentioned, the Silent King, somebody else who tremendously buffs his own faction, but the units that he's buffing aren't the best in the game. The Silent King really does, especially with Novak Warriors, bring the Necrons up dramatically. That reroll wounds aura is amazing. Reroll hits for shooting is very efficient, especially when you combo with the 6's auto wound strat. All that's great. He gets he himself can basically secure you a secondary by himself. That's Code of Combat. And then on top of that, he's just a beast in shooting and combat with the miniers and all the different combat weapons he has. So he's just a great all-around character. He's 450 points though, and Necrons still need some love. He interacts with more of them now because core was added to a lot of the different data sheets.
Helped out a lot.
So it also makes him more viable right now, but I still feel like the meta overall where it's gone, he's not the best. I think anti-tank across the board is a bit undercosted compared to where it used to be this time last year. So that's why he's fallen off for me, but he does still significantly buff the Necron army. And if he got some points decreases,
for sure,
I could see him being very powerful.
You see him sneak his way back in?
Yep.
Right on. Yeah. I think the only other one that I want to mention, I think this is literally the most let down by his buddies character in the game, right? Pedro Cantor. Whenever I'm, like talking about Space Marines, like going deep on him, I like to joke that Pedro Cantor is the best Space Marine character. And if he was in anything other than Crimson Fists, he would be in an auto take, and they would have Primarisized him by now. Actually, honestly, if they may have made him Primaris, I didn't even notice. I'm kidding, he's still resin. But Pedro Cantor is just a really cheap chapter master with pretty good combat weapons. He's got like a Rally Power Fist and a +1 attack aura. And it's just like, wow. I would pay for that.
Remember when Blood Angels just had a bunch of +1 attack auras?
Yep, and you took them all because they were amazing. It's like, yeah, sure. What, just like that, huh? Yeah, they're fantastic.
Anybody?
But just,
yeah, he's Crimson Fists,
don't
Imperial
do
Fists.
enough.
Yeah.
Yep, and he doesn't fit in the playstyle at all. Is the problem.
Trajan is still a very good character. He's a little pricey, but his CP, the ability to bring back CP, the reroll hits and wounds of 1. He's relatively good in combat. The potential fight twice, once per game. He really needs 5/3 damage.
I think Trajan is my 11.
Yeah.
Like he was right there with
top 15 probably.
Easily, I think, yeah. Of course, we'll have new rules for him soon, although we don't know what those will be. Anarchyr, Adaptive Subroutines. Anarchyr was my honorable mention. When we were debating Necron characters, because we were actually, Richard and I this morning, were talking about Anarchyr versus Silent King versus Nightbringer, as who was going to get that top 10 spot. I think Anarchyr has gone up into stock a lot because of the core changes. He does have some trouble keeping up.
That's my main thing, is that he's just so slow because the Scorpex move 8, potentially 9. The Wraiths are moving even faster than that. It's hard for him to keep up, and you really don't want to reroll his advance roll to try and get there.
Yeah.
So that's his main downside. Is he's a little on the slower side. But if you were building more of I'm just going to control midfield and use counter assault, I like him more there instead of the missiles across the board.
Yeah, just super good value, honestly.
Yeah. He's still a little pricey, 140 points. We're talking about Drazhar territory, and he is not Drazhar.
Yep.
So Necron characters they're just very expensive.
They are.
So
good buffs, though. Good buffs.
Good buffs. Void Dragon is better than Nightbringer? I don't think so, honestly. I like that you don't have to... It's close. I think it's very meta dependent because the Void Dragon gets significantly better the more vehicles that are on the table, especially like the mid range, the like 6 to 8 wound vehicles.
Of course,
very great in that type of meta. The Nightbringer is just better overall, and the 20-point difference between the two, I'd rather just get the Nightbringer and save the CP of not having to ignore invulns.
Yeah. Those are the ones that I really want to talk about. I think.
Yeah.
There's a couple more being mentioned in the chat, like Draxus, Hecaton Iacos, the Iron Hand, or the named character Dreadnought from Minotaurs, who could be anyone.
There's a lot of named Forge World characters, and
there are.
Most of them are.
Most of them are terrible. Let's be clear. Hecaton Iacos is like Iacos, is what we joke about him with. Where like he's pretty good, and he doesn't do much. But he's like a dreadnought that can't be shot at, so he's not bad.
What about
But like Briar Thatch Mantle, like you compare Iacos to Morvenn Vahl, as long as we're talking dreadnoughts that don't get shot at. Come on, like Morvenn Vahl every time, 100 points, no problem. We have a $5 super chat from Clown Mode. Thank you so much, Clown Mode. We really, really appreciate you. Feel like Richard's #1 honorable mention is the Eldar Phoenix Lord Karandras.
Yes.
I've seen some hype about Karandras recently because one of the Advent rumors that I had was a very elegant looking chainsword that perhaps does not look imperial in nature. And it could be like a striking scorpion, it could be Karandras. But if I'm being honest, it's probably both. When with Howling Banshees they did like a plastic Janzar and Howling Banshees at the same time. If they're doing the same thing for Karandras and striking scorpions, I'm gonna be excited. That's all. I'm gonna be hyped.
Yeah. As long as the buffs are not Dark Reapers and Shining Spears, I'm about it.
Yeah. You know what? I don't like Eldar. Striking Scorpions, though, we're cool. I'm all right with Striking Scorpions. That's cool.
That is cool. I played against them at the team tournament, John.
Yeah,
Two units came in. They failed. They both failed their charges, and I was like, just say they made it. Let's see how much damage they do. The game was already over at that.
Striking Scorpions.
Man, Striking Scorpions are bad. But I wish they were good. Because I remember the 3rd edition book, the rulebook had the classic green bases with the striking scorpions coming into combat.
They're so iconic. Like that is so iconic Eldar. I want them to be good. I don't want Eldar to be good, but I want striking scorpions to be busted. All right, Richard. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think overall, named characters, like I said, they do have a limitation in that they can't take warlord traits and relics, and there's some extremely good ones.
Yep.
And you typically don't want to run more than like 4. You don't want to be running 4 or 5 plus characters in a list because you really start running low on stuff.
Yeah.
But the ones that have more recent named characters like Vahl, Helbrecht, they have an entire extra set of rules. They've got great combat. They often have a decent shooting involved, but they've gotten massive defensive bonuses and they give good army bonuses. They have the whole package. And at that point, it's hard to say, I'm going to give up, this named character just to get 2 generic ones. Yep. And the name characters, that's how good they need to be. So I think we're seeing that trend. We just saw a preview today, Darkstrider, who gives out +1 to wound to any core unit for Tau, except core unit. So if battlesuits get core, you might be seeing Darkstrider a lot more.
I feel like it would be hard to justify crisis suits not having core. I'm just going to be honest. Like, it's not that I want this to happen. I do not want you to have +1 to wound on your crisis suit unit. But
they kind of are core. They're in every single image.
Yeah, they really are. They're on the codex cover, front and center. I would not be surprised to see them getting core, and if they're getting +1 to wound, that is a good argument for Tau Sept right there, isn't it?
Yeah, so they are starting to give some of these named characters better rules, because honestly, there's a ton of named characters in the game, and most of them have pretty god-awful rules. Blood Angels themselves have so many named characters, and most of them are so heinous that you don't even remember what their rules are, because I still cannot remember.
What about Tycho?
I still cannot remember. He has the Dead Man's Hand, and John, was it no AP or something? It was something so awful that we couldn't
It's definitely damage 1. I believe the Dead Man's Hand is +3 strength, like +2 strength, AP 3, damage 1.
Just why?
It's a power sword. All right, everyone. Let's do it.
Yep.
Thank you so much for joining us here today. We have plenty more content coming up. If you're in the War Room, you can find us later on today. We're going to have Meta Monday at 4 p.m. That's in about 2 hours. As well, we're going to be back on YouTube in 3 hours. That is for 40K today. You can come here from fellow coaches like Scary, Matt Morsoli, and the Brad Chester. As well, we've got plenty of streams coming up this week. On Tuesday and Thursday, we have Richard Siegler back in the saddle again, giving us some great
back to back.
This man is making up for lost times. He's reminding us who has won the last 3 U.S. Open events. Sad. And he is here. You're going to be playing Admech tomorrow against Jack Harpster's Sisters of Battle.
Almost certainly going to be seeing Celestine and Vahl in there.
I'm not going to rule it out. Then you're playing on Thursday. You're playing your Tau Empire. You are bringing back the classics.
And Farsight's going to make it.
Farsight's going to make it.
And guess what? I'm playing against Nick, and it is a bet match. There's a pub sub and ice cream online here. You saw it in the tier list that we did. He was trying to put demons up in A tier somehow. I cannot believe it. John cannot believe it. Jack could not believe it. I didn't believe it, and I didn't allow it.
No.
And we're going to let him put his money where his mouth is and put the demons on the board. And I'm ready to see this demon list be mostly not demons, honestly.
I can't wait.
We'll see. He said pink horrors are the crutch that allows demons to be good, so we'll see. Guess what? I'm bringing crisis suits.
Yep.
And they're pretty darn good into pink horrors, but we'll see.
I'm excited to watch that one. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. If you're interested in the War Room, we're going to send you off with the promo. Make sure you check it out. You can also find a lot more information on our YouTube channel. So if you want to join, like, subscribe, become a member, you can get some exclusive content, get a hint of what the War Room's all about. Catch us there.
Definitely. We'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Dive even deeper into competitive 40K and become a member of the world's most knowledgeable and positive community.
The War Room is an exclusive group that brings together the world's best 40K players as coaches to help anyone from a newer player to an experienced tournament veteran learn, grow, and reach their goals within our shared hobby.
Each week we offer a variety of live stream coaching matches centered around illuminating the thought process and in-game decision making of top players. We explain everything we're doing and why.
You'll learn about the ever-evolving meta, match play mission theory, list making, and discussion of every faction in the game, and have access to analysis of all the latest rules. Our team of highly experienced coaches teach weekly clinics on each individual faction, strategy sessions on deployment and cool tricks, and meta-analyses each week during Meta Monday.
We are committed to not only providing the best knowledge for players available, but also building a one-of-a-kind community.
Come be a part of the War Room.